Check, check, audio check, ladies and gentlemen, audio check. Good morning, everybody. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. Let's get it started with all gassed up.
You a flask full of Jack Love at last. I'm at peace with this fast blood. Only took a crash, landing down in the trash mud to figure out why I've been so smashed up. Holy moly, lonely only when I'm coldly zoning, cozy in my holy home without my homie ceremonies, owning in my own, roaming through my dome, hoping that I'm only throwing stones to get you going. Maybe you could clone me, break the ache and make me hate the way forsaken snakes take their stake in what I make and break it. Maybe lay it on a plate, maybe shoot it out in space to watch it die. Either way, I ain't trying to lie.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever in the world you're coming to us from. Welcome to DYOR Live here on the DYOR Media Network. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media world. So glad to be hosting another episode of this great award-winning show. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we gave ourselves the award, but I always say, someone has to win. You know what's funny is when you laugh at your own jokes. Yes, it is. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it is July 8th, 2025. The year is more than halfway over, if you can believe it. We are closer to Christmas than we are to the beginning of 2025. If you can believe that. And we're also one day closer to my birthday, 364 more days to go. Worked out well for me yesterday. Had a great day. Got 1 year older, a couple more gray hairs here poking around at the top. But all in all, it was a great day. If you notice, I haven't introduced Pedro Garcia yet. And that's right, because he's running late today. The man in the box isn't here. You'll see his audio meter pick up when he comes online for Technical Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. This is his day to shine and tell you about the economic indicators from around the world and what they mean to your investments in crypto and or your day trading efforts. If most of you have figured out by now, we've switched from a crypto-centric show to a more of a day trading show where we've been talking more about only the top altcoins, really. We haven't spoken much about meme coins, really, because you just lose serious money on them. And the altcoins, as we all know, are in just basically limbo right now, waiting for the Bitcoin dominance to come down. And the other markets are very liquid. Crude oil is extremely liquid. The US dollar is, well, it's the most liquid market in the world. Gold has been booming lately as the world freaks out about Donald Trump. And also, and war. And we even cover the copper markets. And Pedro was even toying with the live cattle market the other day. And why the live cattle market? Because it's a great measure of inflation. It's expensive to raise cattle. It takes a lot of land. It takes a lot of food, which we also track the price of corn, all that type of stuff. And when the price of your base level stuff goes up, like corn, the price of your live cattle is going to follow sooner or later. And then by the time you get that nice filet mignon, yes, I know, filet mignon, at the store, the price has gone up significantly. So it's a great measure of inflation. So we've been watching that. And really kind of broadening the things we talk about to see who's going to listen. Speaking of listening right now, Donald Trump is speaking again. Let me see if I can fix this here so it's... He hasn't really mentioned anything that'll cause the markets to go crazy right now. Let's just take a quick look at Bitcoin here. Bitcoin's just been in a slow decline all day today, still kind of trading in a very miserable range. And I see Mr. Garcia coming online here. He'll be with you guys in just a minute. I'll let him get going here before I get his microphone up and running. But anyway, as I was saying, we've been watching some. Transitioning the show from crypto-centric to all the things that the liquid markets day traders pay attention to. And we've even talked, Pedro on Technical Tuesdays talks stocks. He talks the top 7 technical stocks, talks Tesla, Nvidia, Facebook, or Meta, Google, etc. Because those are also a good indicator of where the investment money is flowing. It's so Technical Tuesday, as I say, is Pedro's day to bring you the world's economic indicators, which really means all the cool stuff going on in the U.S. since we lead the world. Sorry, I have to do that. And let you know how it affects your bags. And so we'll get going with that shortly as Mr. Garcia gets going here. Let's see, let me find his microphone button here and don't trip him up again. There's Mr. Garcia. Good morning, Pedro. Welcome to the show. Yes, right now. Well, these things happen, as they say. Hey, Pedro, hold on a sec here. Pedro. I'm sorry, Pedro. I thought I turned your mic on, but all I did was turn on the special effects.
All right. There we go.
As I was saying,
I love it.
as I was saying, and this time, Pedro, I even focused on it, and I said, make sure Pedro's mic is on. It wasn't. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, my good friend Pedro Garcia, crypto chart analyst.
Hey guys, how you doing? It's good to see you.
It's at least once a week I make you do this, and I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. I spent quite a bit of time this week. Probably half a work week setting up for this, for Technical Tuesday, because some of the stuff that's going on here, reading a lot of articles, trying to understand, what they're saying, and then looking at the charts and either seeing money coming in or coming out based off of whether they're lying or they're actually, being truthful. And so watching a few geopolitical moves happening in the world was really interesting to sit there and see. And so typically I spend about 10 to 15 hours a week, apart from my normal trading and things of that nature, just kind of preparing for Technical Tuesday, looking at things that we have seen the market do, and then going back and analyzing it in past history. Now, again, I'm not a fundamental analysis. I'm not one of those guys who are going to sit there and say, let's check out the PE ratio in relationship to the global stance of this stock.
I can't do that either.
But I do pay attention to it because, I didn't go to school for it. I can't sit there and say that I'm an economist or even remotely even say that I'm a finance major. I think over the last 20 years, I've picked up a lot of knowledge and been able to really kind of go through and really kind of price out a stock or price out certain things. But in relationship to the actual market itself, I'm not an economist. I'm not going to pretend like I am. But I will argue certain points that I stand strong. If an economist says to me, yeah, crude oil should go up because X amount of fundamental factors work, but I'm watching the price sell off, and I'm watching big seller wicks or supply wicks come in and no demand wicks. I don't care what you say. Like, the money says otherwise. And so this is where I find this argue within myself now, whereas now I'm learning a lot about the fundamental side of things and understanding it and going, what? Like,
Pedro, if you have discussions with yourself, they must be 10 hours long. So
I do have discussions with myself. I'm a verbal processor, and I legitimately speak out loud, and I sound like I'm crazy, and I don't care. I just don't care. Your opinion of me does not matter. I care about your feelings, and I care about the people here who watch me. But if I offend you based off of what I believe to be true, that's not a me problem.
Well, I'm just talking about the random people that would walk by your window and see you talking to yourself, or even having an argument with yourself. They're like, "There's that guy again."
He's just
he's talking on his Bluetooth. No, he's answering both sides of the questions.
It is so true. I was actually talking with a friend of mine who didn't kind of understand like how money is created in the United States and around the world, and how all that stuff, Federal Reserve, and then how it trickles through the banking systems. And he sat there and he was just like, "No, that's not." I go, "No, there's really nothing behind this, but like literally nothing. It's they say, hey, we're gonna give you money that's not money. It's it's like." And so anyways, I remember I was on the phone and I was talking and I was being very animated, and I literally thought to myself, I said, "Oh, I bet if somebody's watching me, they probably think I'm crazy." But it's good. Either ways, let's go ahead and move forward here.
Well, hold on, Pedro. You mentioned you're not an economist, so that means you too can be chairman of the Fed.
But he's well spoken, and he actually knows how to read the weight of his words, right? And that in itself is really more important in that position than being an economist. I mean, because the reality is one stupid comment and you could crash world markets.
Well, that's why I got the Trump feed on over here too. I wish he was predictable in that every time he would speak, the market went in a certain direction. It always was negative, or it was always positive. But you never know.
Obama.
Obama. Every time Obama spoke.
When he first started. Go ahead.
So that's why I got the Trump closed captions on over here.
Yeah, it's real.
The closed caption people that do Trump's work could probably be very rich too, because a lot of these traders watch with closed captions on, because you can't watch 10 channels on at the same time and listen to them.
Yeah.
And so those closed caption people are typing, and the tariffs are going up. Sell.
Right. Forgive me for the red light. My back was kind of hurting today, so I threw it on just so that I could.
It's all right. It adds some flair to it today, Pedro.
Yeah, a little bit of red light therapy for y'all. Hopefully, it doesn't blind you. But it was really interesting that watching what's going on with the whole entire tariff talk. I mean, dude, yesterday and today, bro, he just came out with just a slew of like, yeah, you suck, you're cool, right? Like he was like, especially. And then, did you read the letter that he talked about, or that was sent out to a lot of the countries?
No, I did not. All I did was read a headline about it.
The nicest FU letter and your mom I've ever read. Like, it was so good, dude. I sat there and I was just like, man, there's some English professor here who wrote this, and our professor, are women for professiorettes, or are they still called professor? Because I feel like every time I think of professor, I think of a...
No, just professor.
Okay. All right, good. I'm glad. So, like, this idea behind it is that it was the nicest, well-written F you and your mom letter I've ever seen. And I have to admit, I was like, wow. And he goes, and part of it goes, and if you so deem to, or like if you so, I'm not gonna correctly say, but it was basically, if you so deem to come back to the table and want to actually work on these things, then please do. We will gladly allow you to come into the American market. But it was like, I was like, wow, dude, they're just not playing. And I was actually thinking he was going to like say something like, I thought he was going to backtrack, but man, he didn't, dude. He came out and was like, nope, tariff, 25% on you, 25% on you, get a 25%, you get a 25%, you get a 25%.
He opened them.
You dude. And I sat there and I was just in amazement of like, wow. What was also interesting, what were your thoughts on Japan? Did you catch any of that, or?
No, I haven't. We spoke about it yesterday about Japan, and cracking their culture has been difficult, even when allowed. I should say cracking their market, even when allowed, has been very difficult for companies just because of the culture difference. It's very difficult to manage a Japanese crew, if anything, of salarymen, and simply because of culture differences. I mean, they don't perform well under the America style of management, which is much more open and, here's your goal, go do it, rather than you sit here at this desk and do all these things all day until the boss goes home and then you leave. And if the boss happens to have no kids and works till 11, you work till 11 every night. And that doesn't work here, and so we have a different management style. Hard to do. And where we've been successful in negotiating tariffs in other industries there, our steel industries have been working since the 80s to have more free trade between Japan and the U.S. And it actually culminated with Japan steel buying U.S. steel, as we talked about yesterday. With, I believe, the Trump administration got a right of first refusal out of them.
Did he?
To buy U.S. steel. They can't just sell it to anybody without our permission. Something like that. But it's difficult. And one of the things, though, you have to deal with the Asian countries, you probably know this, almost every Asian country follows a similar diplomatic way of doing things, and that's called saving face. It's been part of their culture for a long time. In public, they have to say, we've accomplished our goal. Even if they got hammered, they have to come out and say, we worked hard and we worked strong, and we extracted that 1% out of the phosphate industry for them. Meanwhile, they got a 99% tariff on the steel industry. They have to come out and save face, and they can't just capitulate easily like when Israel said, okay, fine, we just removed all the tariffs, and let's have some free trade between us. Because they've spent all these years, creating these industries that will suffer. There are certain industries there that if they have a big tariff on them, they're like, well, we can't compete on price. And so the big changes will be coming to Japan, whether they like it or not, I'm afraid. And they kind of need to. They've got to change things up. Their free ride in the banking industry is going to be over for a while.
Yeah. Well, the thing is half the world is still on that carry trade. So it's going to be really interesting. And the fact is that they... on the back end, you look at this and you see what's actually happening within the not just the culture, but the country itself, right? It's still within that limbo stage. It's still not super productive. The fact is that they did drop, everything's lowered on their end in relationship to their debt to income ratio, right? Back in the 90s, it kind of imploded, and then they've been in just this range. So watching that and seeing now in this new dynamic with Trump and within the tariff world, right? That it is becoming very, I think the end of America is happening. I think we're in the process right now, unless we just become so innovative with AI and robotics and just watching things just go from like $10 for 5 pounds of apples to $2 or $1 for 5 pounds of apples. And I know you're like, wait, what? Because if you get apples, you have literally from seed, and it transfers through the whole entire economy. like one apple, right? You literally farm. From farm, you have the person that manufactures it. You have to you clean it, do everything that you need to do. Then from there, it gets traveled, and you use gasoline. You use shipments of people bringing in and out. Then you have stores that stock it. So when you think of a pound of apples, think about the full scope of the economy. Many times they get packaged in boxes or whatever, or a bag, depending on how you do it. So it literally encompasses the whole entire economy. And so to be able to sit there and say that, okay, right now the average, for I think it's 5 pounds of just organic apples.
Got 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag.
Yeah, it's just, the reality is it ranges between 10 to 15, $10 to $20 based off where you're getting it, right? And that's a big swing. And if we can see that through innovation, right, go from $10 or $10 to $20 down to $1. This is where we, as Americans, would be able to, I use the word save face, and be able to keep printing money and not destroy the American dream based on inflation. And so these are some of the things that it's really the only way. And watching Elon Musk, instead of focused on the best things that he could do, now he's focusing more on politics, just scares me, right?
Yeah, it's a big mistake.
Well, here's the thing. The way and again, I'm quoting Tom Bilyeu here, but and a few other people I've watched, them basically stating that if, like, we need the American party, we need something like that, right? But is it the right time for that? And is it the correct process to actually do it the way he's doing it, right? Like, we do need it, but it's the correct timing. And here's the thing, we're going to see split. And I've seen other commentaries saying you're going to see people on both ends come into this party, and instead of reaching 50%, it's going to drop down to, the quickest to 30%, or, 35.7%, right? Whatever it is for that, or the 33.6%, right? Who can outbeat everybody else. That point right there narrows the ability for real arguments, right? Like, that the fact is that when you have two different systems, you have the ability to be able to argue things and pinpoint. Whereas when you have it spread over, the further it goes, what happens is you have this everybody doesn't hear everything because they only hear what they want to hear. Whereas if there's a two-party system, I still know what the other person's saying, right? Even I may not agree with it. I may be like, no, that's dumb. You're retarded. You need to stop that. But either way, it's still one of those things that needs to be said. Whereas when you start to have more issues and more things to talk about on one thing, like just talk about the Green Party. The Green Party has like 5 or 6 issues that they have that they want to bring to the table. Everybody, all we know is just that it's global warming. But they have a lot of they have water issues. They have other issues that they want to talk about, cleaning up the earth. There's just a lot of things here, but you don't hear that.
Right.
And imagine if you have the other side where literally now the American party gets ran. And I'll probably, honestly, whoever runs for it, if they're fiscally conservative and lowering the debt and allowing for crypto, which that's exactly what the party is, and the next guy who runs there, I'm probably going to vote for them. Because that is the truest major issue of our generation, is that debt. And my children's.
There's so many cans of worms in this. Imagine, I deal with it because I follow the Canadian politics too, and they don't have a majority, rule. They have a minority rule. Actually, let me rephrase that. They have it's a majority, but it's a minority of the people. I don't know what the right term of it is, but in essence, a party that wins 40% could win the whole thing. And in the last government, the party that had 33% was the leader, and 67% voted for someone else. And so that doesn't go well. It's not a proper form of government to do that. But imagine 3 parties. There's the Republicans and Democrats. They each get 40, and so they don't have 50% to do whatever they want. And that other party, then, the American party, gets to trade what they want for a coalition government. Imagine a coalition government in the United States where the American party had to team up with the Republicans or had to team up with the Democrats to get what they wanted. And then they get to dictate the things too. That, you know, now when one party's in charge, they're in charge. They set all the committee assignments, the bills that come through. You know, the minority party doesn't even have any sort of chance. Yeah. But the horse trading that's going to come with a three-party system is going to be unbelievable, and it'll probably be the end of the electoral system too, because people will be so outraged that the House of Representatives will get to decide who the president is, and not the people. Because right now, with two parties, essentially, you know, someone gets 51%, the other's 49%. Most of the country voted. You know, majority voted for one person over the other, and there's a bunch of vocal people on Twitter. Oh, not my president, blah blah blah.
Right. But you still have 50% of the people who voted.
But someone got 274 electoral votes and won.
Yeah.
Now, imagine if nobody gets that. You know, one party gets 200, another party gets 200. You know, there's still a bunch out there, and so in that case, the election goes to the House of Representatives. To decide who's the president. And every state gets one vote. You know, it's not representative by population, it's representative by states. Because the presidency in our country, for those of you who are foreigners, is a function of our states, not of our people. Yeah. He's the executive of the federal government, which is set up to oversee the administration of the states working together and to provide for the things in the Constitution, a common defense, a common court of law, yada, yada, yada. And so imagine that we went sideways on Technical Tuesday real fast here today.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
But imagine that people will be like, he's not my president. Why does South Dakota get a vote? Blah, 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 blah. You know, it's going to be epic. It's just going to be epic. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, man. I feel it's like the fall of Rome. We're in like that last 200, 300 years, man. It's just like everything just went to something in a handbasket. All right, so let's go ahead and go here real quick. So first thing we always want to look at is kind of the global market, see what's actually happening overall with all the stocks in the world. You can see here, the first thing that we did, we actually went up first, right, for the first week.
Wait, this is that total global stock value?
Yep. All right. So we want to sit there and say, okay, what's happening? Now, we did talk about certain things that are really important. Even though we went sideways here on Technical Tuesday, what's important here is that a lot of stuff that we talked about is actually influencing the world, from tariffs to U.S. geopolitical, from U.S. politics to geopolitical politics, and what we're seeing here. And so this all plays into, and this is why I actually was talking about this, because it's important to understand these next plays that I'm talking about in the next 6 months to a year and what we expect. All right, so because now we're at 6 month part here, we're at the 6 month marker area here. Look. We saw here that we came down because of the tariff talk. Down here, we hit the 50 period move, or the 8 period moving average to a T. Not to a T, but almost. You can see we came, it bounced off. And we've been playing off of this 8 period moving average here for the 6 month period. Really important, all the way since July of 2015, right, where we saw it come down. So if things really start to get a little hairy and things kind of come back down, we should break this 8 period moving average 6 month on the world stock market, because we're going, the reason I'm bringing this up is we're going up first already for the month, right?
Oh,
and in this
good point.
And most importantly, you can see here that we have a lot of low volume here for the first, for the first part here. Not the first part of it, but we're going up first here for the first 6 month period, and now I'm expecting it to go down. And so obviously we'll play here, but I think we'll easily see a bit of a sell-off here from a global standpoint when I'm looking at this from a charting standpoint. Again, I reiterate, I am not an economist. I just look at charts, okay? And I have 2008, I called before it happened, and there's a very influential guy in Washington.
It was you in The Big Short?
No. But I did see it coming, and I wish I would have taken advantage of it. I decided to take this hunch somebody was going to give me. I was sitting there and I was looking at the S&P 500, the SPY's put calls, or the puts, and I was going to put one on, and then I was thinking about this tip some guy gave me about this stock, and I'm sitting there analyzing it, and I was talking to a friend of mine. I said, I want to put this call here on the SB. He goes, bro, if that happens, do you understand we would have a catastrophe? I go, well, the chart's saying, this is when I first started back in 2007. And I sat there and I said, but if this happens, I expect this to go. He goes, if that happens to be global catastrophe, everything would fall apart. He's like, there's no way that would happen. He goes, we're at the peak. And I go, the problem is look at the volume and look at us. We're still moving. And he's like, dude, it's not going to happen. So I decided to put this $2,000 put on this stock company.
And quickly went to a $25.
Yeah, actually did. It went negative. It was actually sad. I actually had to pay it off.
Oh man!
But if I would have put on the S&P 500 short or the put call, it was going to be a leap. I was going to buy the leaps and have put $1,000 on it, leave $1,000 as in wiggle room, right? And bro, looking back now, it would have been, I would have called it all the way down. I had it marked with S&P 500 at the time, which was $150 at the time. And I was planning on it to get down to about $75 for my leap call. It would have been, I would have bought the leaps for less than a cent. And by the end of that trade, I think it was $28, $29. Once it hit that level. And I sat there and I always think back to that moment of looking at my screen going, puts on this, puts on the S&P, the SPYs, and both were basically less than a cent. It was like 0.01.
It would have been in the money.
Not just in the money.
You would have. You essentially would have done was taken all the money from those poor homeowners that lost all their houses and put it in Pedro's pocket. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I forgot to introduce Pedro properly today. We got sidetracked by a talk about U.S. politics again, which happens quite frequently here. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today is Tuesday. What does that mean? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for Technical Tuesday.
We have no viewers. Wow, it's probably
the mics are on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Technical Tuesday here. Pedro's going over global stock value, talking about how it's going up at the beginning of the month. And as we always say, if it's going to go up at the beginning of the month, it likely will trade down at the end of the month. So we're going to put that on the books to note and see if Pedro Damas is right about that. Anyway, back to you, Pedro.
All right, so we're seeing it kind of come up here. This is the URTH. I forget how they say it, but it's going up and we can see it come down. I'm expecting this to come back down. You can actually trade this as a put call or spread, whatever you want, however you want to take it. But you could if you wanted to trade this. It's an ETF. Now you can see here, I'm expecting it to kind of come down to that 156 area. So you're looking at going, okay, what does that mean? Well, that 156 area is about right here. Right, and so this would be a bit of a pullback in the economy. If we're seeing what's happening with tariffs and what's actually correlating, we should see a slowdown. We should see a major slowdown in the economy and what's actually happening. So this is why we're looking at these news sources so that you can understand the full aspect of the reason why we're taking these trades, and then the actual technical part and how to do it. So you can see here, once we see the break of the 8-period moving average, okay, which is going to sit right here on the daily chart, I'd expect it to see come back, pull back, hit it, kind of like what we see here. See, kind of come back, pull back, and come back down. This is when I'm looking to personally take that short to play off of that daily 8-period moving average. It's similar to this. You can see how this broke through, then we sold up, and I want to see it pull back, right? And I'm looking for something of this nature, but up at these highs here. Look at this, and I want to see something like that. And we're going to see it correlate. And so that's what we're looking for. So that when we're looking for this to break this 8, I want to see it come back, pull, and then continue down. Okay. So it's that trade there that we're looking to take part in as the market starts to see a pullback here. In addition to that, let's go into the S&P 500. S&P 500 is important to pay attention here because it's in a similar situation. Okay. And you can see here, we've been seeing volume drop, right? And I've talked about this now for a couple of weeks. We're seeing volume drop as we're continuing up, which is never a good sign that you're going to see a continuation. So if you want to take this again, you can take these on the SPYs, or if you want to actually just do a short, you can go on it. You know, there are enough crypto companies out there that do follow the SPYs, and so you can take part in that in crypto. And or if you want to create a, excuse me as I burp, I apologize.
Don't let it happen again.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that, guys. So as we're seeing the slowdown in the economy, what we would expect is that this to come back down, at least tapping into that 95 area. And so I would expect to see at least a 5% pullback here into this level here. Come and playing with that 6,000 area. But ultimately, it all is predicated on if the other nations acquiesce from their perspective of holding on or saving face, or just saying, you know what, we at least want to be take part in the U.S. economy because that's a big portion that brings GDP into our countries. Then I would expect to see this backtrack and see it pull back up and continuing higher. But again, ultimately, it all depends on the acquisition of the moving within the other nations. I don't understand why I can even say that word, acquisition. It's like my brain's trying to merge acquisition and no, whatever.
Yeah, you got me there, Pedro. You got me stumped.
Yeah, my brain. Go figure. Okay, so the next one we want to be paying attention to is the S&P, or not the S&P 500, but also the NASDAQ. And the reason why this is important, because the NASDAQ is typically more related and connected to whom? Bitcoin and crypto, because crypto is a tech entity, right? It's a tech focused industry based off of coding and based off of what we're seeing in real life, real world RWA assets, but it still is backed by more tech. And so you can see here, it follows the NASDAQ for Bitcoin and crypto. So again, we're looking at a similar situation here where I'd expect to see something of this nature here. And it's a similar, if you look at the volume, you can see how we saw it kind of consolidate here. And then what do we see? A drop off, right? And so this drop off right here is kind of where we're at right now, that drop off area. Granted, this is a little bit less. You know, this is more consolidation than drop off, but I expect to see something like this kind of come in, at least tap into that 20,800 area. And then from there, obviously that's a 10% pullback, and we'll see what happens there. But I expect to see the NASDAQ hit harder there, just simply because a lot of what we're seeing from a tariff standpoint of rare earth metals and a lot of that other stuff is still being worked out. Hopefully, if and any type of hiccup of that, I think we could see a major sell-off there because of it. Right now, as I'm looking at the technicals here, we're going to play the same thing here, right? As we're going up, we're not seeing a lot of demand wicks, right? And you can see that we already kind of been playing. We went down first to go up on the 6-month period already. Your 3-month looks the same. Now, the biggest difference here is when we look at that daily. That daily looks, come on. All right, there we go. The daily here is showing weakness because you can see the volume dropping off on the first part here. And so this is why I'm expecting it to come down and to play off of that 2,200, most likely that 20,000 area is really what I'm looking at for as a target. And you're going to play this the similar same way, right? You're going to wait for the break of the 8, and then you're going to wait for a pullback and to go down, right? We're using the daily chart. Okay, so you're going to make sure, at least I'm going to make sure that I have the correct risk to reward, right? So if I'm expecting this to get down to here, let's say I have a $200 account, okay? I'm going to take $20, you know, or we'll say, yeah, $20, boom, that'd be 10%. If you want to do 1%, I guess you could do $2, but you want to sit there and we want to take the break and then get in on the full pullback. As we hit it, we'll see the sell-off and then get in and try to capture it down through these lower levels. Now, we've been talking about the Russell 2000 because they are the top 200, or excuse me, 2,000 biggest, smallest stocks per capital, which means that by their capitalization in their industry, they are the smallest But out of the smallest companies, they're the biggest in that, right? And so you can sit there and see. We're watching it kind of push up. Pardon me. We're watching it push up here. But again, we're seeing a similar situation. Look, a drop off, in particular, drop off within the last 2 weeks to a month. And again, this could be sell in May, you know, or what is it? Yeah, sell in May, come back in September, something like that. I forget what that term is. Tommy said all the time.
What I say in Canada, that the next day after the end of the fiscal year is March 30th. The very next day is actually September 1st. Nothing gets done. They don't have a budget. They pass the budget, but money is not appropriated, and doesn't not appropriated until another month, and then it works its way through department heads approving everything, and then they go out for bids on things, and then they go to buy it, and there's a delay, and then the money's just about to run out at the end of the year before they have to spend it, and they spend everything in the last month.
Yeah, well, basically the institutions leave in May, go up to the Hamptons or wherever they normally hang out, and they come back September. And so that's kind of like what we're seeing here. So this could be that situation. I don't think so. I think it's they don't know what's happening, and so they're going to sit there and see what's going on. And so this is what we're seeing here.
Mikester, we'll talk about Uniswap. We'll go over that later in the show. But remind me towards the end of the show when we get into crypto and stuff.
Man, we just jumped up. We were sitting at like 2 viewers.
I know. Speaking of, I have to interrupt you for a second, Pedro.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. This is the fun part of the day here.
Gotta pay the bills.
Gotta pay the bills. Especially here on Rumble. Rumble's been very good to us lately, and just talking about them. And then sure enough, this sponsorship is from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would ever censor political conversations or censor opinions on COVID. But they did. Facebook admitted they fell to the pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They are attacked in corporate media. They are attacked by governments like France. Oh, those evil Frenchmen. They are attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Yeah. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers alone. They don't get much of it. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight, and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium and use the promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we're just happy if you watch us on Rumble. And so thank you, everybody that's watching us on Rumble. And if you'd like to join, get ad-free, and also participate in the Rumble Premium sessions that we're going to be putting on. We have to do 5 hours of it every month. We'll give the super alpha. Pedro's going to tell you how the market's going to go to the moon. No, he's not.
But you know what? I've honestly been thinking about what we could do with that. And
hold on. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now's the time to join Rumble Premium. It's $10 off, so you only pay $89 for the whole year, and it's worth it. I'm a premium member. I get that nice little badge too. I don't have to watch ads, and also I get to participate. A lot of creators put out premium stuff. Steve Crowder puts out a great premium session on a show where they just relax. The filters come fully off, and it's a lot of fun. Anyway, so thank you to Rumble.com for sponsoring this segment of the show. Chris, put us on the homepage. Thank you. All right.
I'd appreciate it. All right. So one of the things I think is really important to understand here is that as we start to see, again, and I keep bringing this up, some private business keep dropping off, right? Because the slowdown in the economy based off the tariffs and them not receiving our goods of us selling it. Again, we should see again the RTA or RTY, which is the Russell 2000 ETF, or excuse me, futures, is one of those things that we should expect to see it. And as we continue to watch and listen to a lot of the reports that are happening that are coming out throughout the months, the biggest thing that we need to pay attention to is private sector jobs versus government sector jobs, and actually seeing a growth and a basically seeing if this big beautiful bill is going to stimulate the economy. And unfortunately, I just don't think it will. We'll see. I think the additional fact that they're not going to be taxed on, you know,
I don't think people realize the benefit that that's going to be. I mean, that's a massive amount of tax. When guys work overtime, I shouldn't say guys. They should when people earn wages based on overtime. That's a lot of extra money, and you get a big part taken out of it in taxes. And obviously, it's you pay tax on your income, doesn't matter. But now you're exempting a big part of your income from tax. And I mean, companies are going to create all sorts of creative ways, like, well, you get 1 hour, 1 hour regular, and everything else is overtime.
Why would you not drop your overtime? Your week to 35 for overtime, right? Like, or I mean, 35 hours, and all of a sudden now you don't have to pay that additional.
It's going to be a disaster. But anyway, it's going to be that alone will be a big boost because I'm going to use the word guys just because I'm a guy. All the guys that are working on the automotive lines, they're in Michigan. They got their lake houses. All those lake houses were built back in the day. They're all falling apart because the economy in Michigan has been terrible since the auto workers wrecked it. But it's coming back, and now they're going to have extra money to be fixing up their lake homes, their cottages. They call it the cottage industry there. They're going to be buying 4x4s, four-wheelers. They're going to be buying snowmobiles. That alone will create a consumer boost.
It's really interesting. I personally think, I mean, I might be a little optimistic here, but I think Americans would rather pay down their debt. You like what I did there? You like what I did? I'm going to get further into
ladies and gentlemen, let's hear the comments on that one. What do you think Americans would do given extra money? Pay down their debt or buy cool shit?
STU studio or Stu studio? I missed that. What do you guys think about Uniswap? We're going to listen. We're going to see, because I don't got an hour. I mean, I guess I do have an hour now, but we've already spent about half an hour going over stuff. I've gone over kind of the major stuff where I want to go over here. Everything else pretty much is going to be the same. We know that, I hate to say, but the economy is slowing down, even though they sat there and said, oh, jobs are solid. They're not, right? And this was pointed out this past week from last week's report, simply saying, oh yeah, things are great. And then everybody's like, what are you talking about? The private sector is weak, bro. We're seeing less jobs. It's soft. What are you talking about, Willis? So this looked bad on, this looked bad on their end, trying to bolster up, especially in the Trump economy. It was pretty bad. You sat there and was like, eh. Now, again, let's talk about the 1 month yield. They actually stayed at these levels, and you saw the sell-off. The speculators are expecting it to sell off, so they obviously took off their shorts, and it came back up, right? So this is what you're seeing here, is a push back up into. But if you look right here, we're not seeing buyers. They're still selling off. They expect it to drop here. Look, there's not a lot of demand wicks here where you would expect it to come and sit, right? That's not what we're saying. The reason why I'm pulling this up, now it's working. It's so weird. It's working now, but not. Anyways, okay. So you can see here that this, this is what I want to see, right? This is what I would expect to see. Boom, 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 pop in, right? You can see as we're going to see, but that's not what we're seeing here. We're not seeing the means buyer wicks. We're not seeing buyer wicks. We're seeing more seller wicks as we're coming in. So it's really interesting to see. Are they going to hold this? I I think the speculators think that the Fed is going to lower rates here again. They're already establishing their stuff. They obviously were kind of shorted out, but it didn't go up here as a speculation. They're not expecting interest rates to go up, either stay stagnant or sell off, right? So this is where I think, again, we're probably going to come, and then either the next Fed, if we see another ADP report that really, and in conjunction with the non-farm payroll, right, or the payroll report, as well as ADP, come out just simply saying that private sector jobs are weakening, that we're not seeing anything come from it, then we're going to see, I think we'll see the Fed step in and just drop the interest rate to stimulate the economy to keep it going. So we'll see what happens. But ultimately, that's going to act as a really bad situation for the economy at large from a macro standpoint. But this is what I'm expecting to see. So with that said, we should see, and I think we're going to see a sell-off this month, if not into next month, and then we'll see a rebound, kind of like what we talked about on last week.
This chart, Pedro, it's a daily chart?
Yeah, it's a daily chart. On
idiot box that it's been trading in for the past, before the for the recent downturn here and pullback. Yeah. Is that common, this box I'm pointing at here, this long, where it just traded in that zone for months?
Yeah, well, it depends on, because it's all based off of the interest rates that the Fed's put in.
Right, so they've been fairly stable.
Yeah, so we
I see.
Look,
right.
You see right here, this is where the Feds were up at these levels, boom. And obviously the fluctuations are people buying and selling bonds or short-term paper here. So you can see that as we're playing at these levels here, right, this is common because this is where the rates, right now the rates are sitting here. But we talked about the next rate drop, I think it's got to be around that 325, 350. This is where I think it is a comfortable set for large institutions who are looking for buyers, because that sits around inflation 3%. We already know true inflation has already hit 2%, right? Where it's kind of come down. We're watching it, but on the back end, we're also watching an increase in. Just we already went over all that.
Yeah.
The reason why is that I think we'll see it come back down here and sit around that 3%, 325. Or 325, 350 here, which is what I'm expecting here. And again, it would make it comfortable. Now, if it went down to zero, everybody, again, is basically just like printing money, right? It's just going to be stupid. But in the same sense, that 325, I think 350 is really where the sweet spot is, I think, overall for the economy, because it basically meets what's happening with within the economy. So if you want to stay above, let's say you just want to capital, you're not looking for capital appreciation, but capital preservation, you want to sit around that 3%, 3-4%, right? You want to stay rich. Now, with that said, that money that comes off, you put into or layer into more riskier assets that you want to put in. So whether that's going to be, Tesla that has another major sell-off, or other assets, crypto that you're like, well, we can put 1% of our portfolio based off of what we make from the interest that we make. We want to put that over here to make sure that it's increasing higher than what we're watching with the inflation status. So, or inflation in America. So this is where I think this area. What's up? America. Yes. So we can see here as this moves, I think we're going to see it come back down to these lower areas here. Let's check out the 1 year yield here. You can see the 1 year yield here is pushing up. Really interesting to see what's actually happening there. But ultimately, we're seeing short-term. No, I'm sorry. I don't know why I said 1 year. 10 year. I sat there for a second. My brain's like, you just said that wrong. And I'm like, no, I didn't. And then he's like, no. And then he goes, look at the thing again. And I was like, oh, I said it wrong. But in my head, I said, I'm sorry, people. You all know I'm kind of unique. That's what we're going to just say eclectic. So the 10 year we're seeing push up. Okay. And you can see that we have a fair balance. And the biggest thing that I'm looking at is really seeing the 20 year and 30 year play off of that 10-year mark here. I know that the Fed look at the 2-year and the 10-year and the spread there, but we're watching, you can see here the 2-year and 10-year push up, and we're watching the 10-year actually push up even harder, more than we're watching the 2-year, which is a good sign, and there's some stability there. It's when you start to see the 10-year, right, slow down in its acceleration of the trading, and the 2-year increase, right? This is when you start to see an inversion of the yields here. So right now we're not seeing that. That's a good sign. We want to be paying attention to that again, because this, if we start to see the acceleration of short-term money increase, and we're seeing investors going there, that means a lack of trust in the US and its policies that it's trying to do. So the fact that it's kind of balanced here shows that there is some form of trust here. Now, whether that is because crypto's buying this, right, and they believe more in what's happening in America based off of crypto, or if it's other nations coming in and buying it. So we'll find out sooner or later who that is and what's going on. But right now it's balancing, and so it's kind of a cool thing to see what's happening with the yields here. Obviously, we're going to see the similar thing with bonds, right? If you look at the 5-year bond, or excuse me, where's my 2-year? I don't have the 2-year. Okay, sorry, there it is. Boom. Yeah, ZT, that's what it is, because ZT is 2. You can see here that we saw the sell-off. People were expecting a rate cut that was supposed to come in. You saw the pullback here, but you can see here that it wasn't a major pullback, right, on the bonds. And so, come on. And there you are. Okay. Boom. You can see here we played off the 50-period moving average on that monthly zone, but we still pierced it. So again, we talked about last week seeing a pullback to push back up. Right now we are seeing the pullback. I like this area on that monthly zone. Okay. Also, if you look at your 6-month zone, you can see that we got above the 8-period moving average, and we'll most likely come back and test that 8 or that 103 area, which is basically when you look at your monthly area, your 103 is down at that 8-period on your monthly as well. So I expect us to come and play off of that within that 6-month area. Boom. If you're looking, I like to play this here. And again, I'm expecting to see that just the Fed acquiesce in that move from their hard stance, saying that they're, that things are good in the economy. And so I think as we start to see the numbers come out even more, we're going to see a softening in the job market. Here, so you can take advantage of that. And again, I like this area between that 103 area to that 102 area here, and then I expect us to come and tap. In all reality, if this happens, I expect us to kind of get back up to that 105 area, if not even 107 area on these levels. And so this is obviously going to be over the next 6 months that I expect to see certain things like this happen. And so if we see a drop in interest rates, this will all play out the way I expect. And I think speculators are expecting this. And this is important to pay attention to. Look at the volume coming in. Look at the amount of buyers coming in on the last few months, right? And you can see how they're putting in their position to see it continue higher. And so it's important to pay attention to those small details here as the market from a technical standpoint starts to push up here. Again, this is your 2-year. You're going to see a similar situation when it comes to the 10-year, right? Right here. Again, I've talked about here already. Here we go. Let me go to my 1 day. These areas here, the 103 or the 110 to the 18, 19, this consolidation here, I expected to see it go up. I'm watching what we're seeing here with people buying. Pardon me, let's go here. No, 1 month. You're seeing people coming and buy at these lows here and positioning themselves for an increase in bonds. And again, we've seen situations happen like this. And many of you guys know that I listen to a large amount of people so I can get a good understanding. And one of the people I really like on this aspect of looking at the bonds, his name is the Euro Dollar. He really does some really deep dives, and I really like him. I've mentioned him before, the Euro Dollar, and he's got he's got a crew of guys that he brings on. One is Rebel Capital, and the other one is Jeff. Shoot, I'm messing the name up. But these guys, two of them are economists. One is just a knucklehead like me, and but he looks at things because he's a real estate investor around the world, and he looks at it from a very pragmatic standpoint of like, yeah, but look, if I buy this property and I flip it and drop it over here, I can do, so he's very business savvy, and that's why I like listening to him, because he gives you kind of the wealthy mindset of, I may not be an economist, but I understand the way these markets work, and I know how to make money. So that's why I like listening to George Gammon as well. So I'm giving you guys this because one of the things he was talking about is how in the early 90s, Goldman Sachs bought up, and Salmon Smith Barney went and bought up a ton of
Salmon Brothers.
I don't know why I said Salmon.
I don't know. They had so many merges, and then they all got whatever.
Yeah. Salmon Smith Barner.
I used to work for Solomon, Shearson, Smith, Bache, Hayes, JP, Chase, City, Corp, Frizzle.
Blizzard Blats. All right, so that can actually go on a T-shirt. Blizzard Blats. That's going to be one of those things we have on our merch. All right, so words that Pedro say: Blizzard Blats and other things. Okay, so the reason why I bring this up, if you look at the 10-year note here, you can see how we're playing around at these levels here. You can see that there are a lot of demand wicks, and we did a sell-off, but this ended green over the month. And when I look at the 6-month period here, I expect to see this thing, the 10-year note, come down first, but really to climb up. I don't think we're going to be held by that 8 period. We've already pierced it now. And we're going down first thing in the economy. And so whenever we see it go down first, what do we expect to see it go up after? And I get that this is the 10-year bond, and it should not work this way.
But
I get that. But it does. But it does. This is where I say, I understand, and the more I read about fundamental analysis, I get, like, everything should be efficient, but it's not, right? So, and this is where I'm sitting there going like, I don't know. So I'm expecting this to come down first to push up, and that the next real buying part here for the 10-year mark, if you're looking to trade it, so I like that 18 area. The 118 area is one of those nice little areas that we're going to see it kind of pull back or pull up to. And then from there, we'll reassess. But again, this is a 6-month chart here, so it's important to be paying attention to that. Now, I said we're going to be paying attention to the VIX because of what's happening right now within the economy, with tariffs and a lot of things. So we want to know what is going on within the volatility index, which is really the fear index of what's actually happening. And so right now we're watching it. If we look here, kind of just, it's still dead. It's still where it means there's really not much going on here. We'll keep our eyes on it because we're a daily show. If I start to notice that this is starting to pick up and we're starting to push up, that means something is happening. What is it? The game's afoot, Watson.
There's something going on. I know there's something going on. There's a 90s song for you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
Might have been 80s. It might have been 80s.
Yeah, we're dating ourselves here. All right, boom. So you can see here we saw it drop. This was obviously during the COVID situation, or not COVID situations, was happening in the tariff situation. We saw it explode, and then we saw it come back down. But again, it's interesting that we're not seeing much here with the new talk of tariffs kicking in. And so I just think that's odd that we're not seeing this push up here, that he's saying we're going to charge you come August 1st, y'all need to pay up. Like, that's real talk. And it's going to be interesting if people don't pay, or people be like, nah, dude.
That's why I'm watching the news and it's saying Trump says money will become rolling in on August 1st.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because literally he's saying, I'm not playing with y'all. Like, y'all were sitting there, could have come to the tables, you could have talked, you thought I was bluffing. All right, we'll see. Boom, right? And it's one of those moments that you're just watching what's actually happening. Like, this is a train wreck about to happen with a lot of the world manufacturing as it comes into America. And I think Americans, because again, this is America. Again, if anything, if 3 to 6 months down the road, if we're not getting things that we want, what do Americans do? We see opportunity to make money, and then we start up small businesses.
And if it's election year, we vote for the other guy.
But I think it's going to be really interesting to see. And again, that's why I'm saying it's going to, we talked about this, I think 3 weeks ago during Technical Tuesday, that I expect a seesaw effect to happen here. And going back and forth in these markets based off of, I want to say a changing president, because it's the right word. And it's not the, he says what he expects, and if he doesn't get it, then he makes waves to get it. And so that's why I sit there going like, that's why I expect to see us have some volatility, to see it sell off and to see what actually comes of that. And so that's why I'm kind of waiting and seeing here. Now, we talked about India, and we've talked about a few of these other places, kind of seeing a sell-off back into these lower levels. We came down, we gapped up, and we're starting to come down here past this 8-period moving average, right? And I've talked about how we've seen a decrease in volume over here with it. So this is why I'm saying, if you're looking to kind of take part in this trade here for the iShares of the India stock market, this area where the purple line is, I think we're going to most likely come down into that 53 area. This will be a good trade if anybody wants to take a part in that and push it back up. You could obviously do maybe cover calls to kind of protect yourself in relationship to that. If in case you want to short it, or in case you want to go long based off of your idea. But I'm just expecting a sell off in the Indian economy, at least for a short period in time. You can see here for Russia, again, I think Russia is coming back down to these lower levels. We've talked about more from a geopolitical standpoint, why, and we're already starting to see it do a sell-off from a few weeks ago. And so you can see here, we're starting to come back down, and we'll probably test this area here.
I gotta imagine Russia's trying every trick in the book right now to at least keep their markets functioning.
Yeah, because of the war.
Trump tries to play isolationist now, but we are a global thing, and there's still plenty of American companies that have machinery. I don't know if many of you guys know, but Europe is a massive manufacturing center for complicated machines that factories use, like the chip makers and paper companies and all this type of stuff. These big, large, complicated machines that take years to design and build are made there. And they source a lot of their parts from Eastern Europe, which in the Eastern Europe traditionally had a supply chain into Russia. And they've been trying to wean themselves from that, and it's been difficult. I was reading an article about the chip industry. It turns out, little did we know, a lot of the Dutch are buying stuff from Hungary, parts.
Who's buying it from?
And Hungary is getting some of the parts from Russia. And Hungary has been favorable. I may be blowing. It may be Bulgaria. I don't know. One of these countries, one of them has a leader that's favorable to Putin, and they were just helping disguise the source of this stuff so they could still buy the parts from Russia. And the company's quality control system finally figured it out. And it's a problem because the supply chains stretch into Russia, but they're shutting them down one after another. And if this war goes on, Russia truly will be isolationist, especially if Iran's not buying them. I mean, yeah. Iran's in conservation mode right now of capital, and it doesn't want rubles. It just doesn't want Russian rubles at all. It needs cash. It needs American dollars.
And I think, again, this is where Trump actually understands the full scope. I think, again, there's so many avenues here that he is in, that these thoughts have got to keep him up at night. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's got to, I can't understand. Part of me doesn't even understand how the man is still going so strong. Like,
you got me. Doesn't wear reading glasses, doesn't have a hearing aid.
I mean,
is he 79 or 80? I can't remember.
Either or, right? Like,
well, Does it matter?
I mean, like legit, right? And so like part of me is almost wondering, like, if he handles the situation even remotely well, like I said, like let's give him a 70%, let's say a passing grade, okay, which is plausible. We should see the Chinese economy start to sell off, right? Because the fact is that they're coming in, they're talking about certain aspects, and this trade here, if you want to take part of the PGJ, it's a ETF that you can take apart, not ETF, excuse me. ETF, not NFT. ETF that you can take part in. You can short on this. And
welcome, Derek Breland, to the house. Ka-ching. Thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it every time you visit us.
Always, my brother. Good to have you, brother. What did he say? Oh, wait, I just bought a car, so no, it's not paid off.
We were talking about debt. Mike said, I paid off all my debt. And then he said, oh, wait, I bought a car.
I got you. Right.
Mike, if there's one thing that I hate, is car payments. Just paying for a depreciating asset just grinds you. I realize there's the argument that people are paying for it to get to a job that produces income, yada, yada, yada. Bob, I get it. But just the fact that every time you make a payment on it, it's worth less.
It can get frustrating. Very much can get frustrating. Oh, my goodness.
And although I did lease a car I leased a GMC Yukon, a 5-year lease once. That was too long of a lease, but I got my money out of that car, that's for sure, and I paid for its depreciation. Anyway, Derek, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. It's Technical Tuesday here, folks. Thank you to everyone that's watching us on the old Rumble platform here and on YouTube as well. We've got a number of people watching us on Rumble. Thank you very much. For those of you watching us on Rumble, remember, this is an interactive show. It's edutainment. We educate and entertain at the same time, which means you can ask questions. So if you haven't created an account, even though I did a Rumble Premium ad a little while ago, you don't need to pay for it. You can just create an account and sign in and hit that like button and hit a comment and ask a question. So we'd really appreciate if you would ask questions about things, because it helps spur the conversation. This is a learning experience for me. That's a learning experience for the audience, especially on Technical Tuesday when Pedro's going over how things interact together. Why are we talking about China stocks? Well, it makes a difference. If their companies go bankrupt, the supply chain comes to a halt. There's all kinds of reasons that affect your bags. And if you're going to trade, if you're just going to invest and put your money in the 401k, well, then come here just for the entertainment.
Entertainment. Oh, you're not entertained.
But as we always like to say, you learn something. So when you hear that people on the news go wonk, 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 and they're telling you bullshit, as Mr. President would say, you can go, wait, that's BS. Because I heard Tom and Pedro talk about this, and they gave me the real reason. So whether you're trading or not, we're a good source of daily entertainment and education to help you sort through the stuff on the regular news.
The minutia.
So join up, all 16 of you, and chat. We need 20 unique chatters a month.
Yes, we do. We need you. Just like the old video or the old poster of Uncle Sam. We need you. Anyways. All right. So
literally
let's go to
right there. I don't know if you can see it. There's Uncle Sam right there saying, I want you.
I want you. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I got you. All right, guys. So looking at the PGJ, which is basically the Golden Dragon China ETF, we're coming up to that 8-period moving or the 50-period moving average on your monthly here. You can see we tested it here pretty strong. It's the beginning of the month, right? So if we go up first thing in the month, I'd expect to see a sell-off. So it'd be a nice little play to short on the S&P 500, but the Chinese economy here, or the China economy, the CCP. It's really a CCP economy, right?
Yeah, it's all the same thing.
Yeah, and so I would expect to see kind of speculators step in, short this to see it go down. Now let's check out the dollar, because I've talked about the dollar starting to push back up here. And I'm going to expect to see certain things as we start to see trade now progress, more deals come in. You're going to see a pickup in dollars, and then hence pushing and people buying bonds and getting a fairly decent rate while it sits to trade. Again, that's why we look at the monthly bonds, or the monthly cash, short-term cash there, because people like to put their money, earn interest on it. And so again, we're watching this starting to push up. And one of the things we talked about is seeing us get above that 8-period moving average on the daily as well as the weekly. Right, we want to see us get above this with volume as it pushes up. So as we start to progress here, I'm paying attention here. Now the biggest thing is this: is we've talked about it goes up first thing in the month, we should see a sell-off. So this is where I expect us to come tap this area here around the 8-period, and then to see it come back down into these lower levels, and then to see it continue up. So this is what I'm looking for, and I'm paying attention to how we're establishing orders here to see if we're going to see it go up. And so this is actually starting to look nice. We talked about it kind of pushing up here over the next 3 to 6 months, playing here in this range of that 97 to 95 area, and then to see it basically pop up and to see it continue up even higher as we start to progress in relationship to the Trumpian initiatives that he's trying to push forward. So we want to take this long here, right? Once we start to see it show some real strength, and then to follow it back up. Like I said, we're looking for it to get to about that 103, 104 area, and then we're going to see and wait and see what happens here. But this is right now, it's already starting to take place, what we've talked about. We talked about this last week, saying, all right, look, this is what I expect with the dollar. This is how we're going to play here so that we can take advantage of the push up, because we took advantage of it coming down. Now let's see if we can capture it up here, at least to that 102, 103 area. All right, guys. So that is playing nicely into our hands. Okay.
Where's the evil laugh when I need it here?
All right, so let's check out.
Pedro, I don't know if you just noticed it, but I just yawned.
Yes.
And I probably might. That sound is letting us know. Oh, that was the wrong sound, but that's letting us know that it's advertisement time, and that my coffee was empty. So we're going to do this again, ladies and gentlemen, to help pay the bills here. And this,
you're feeling tired, I can see, my friend.
Yes.
What's going on?
I need some caffeine. I think I need to try a new coffee.
Tell me about that coffee that you're trying.
Well, if you haven't tried 1775 coffee, now's your shot. That's right. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units. Scarce, very scarce, just like Bitcoin. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus. No crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free coffees. Plus, you're also getting, this is my favorite part, a gold spoon clip. Because why? Because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. Nope. Plastic out. No microplastics in your coffee. You're also going to get a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political views. I love it. You're also going to get a black 1775 tumbler that says, I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch. No, no, no. You get $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is worth it. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you to 1775 Coffee for sponsoring this segment. So make sure you click this QR code here right next to me. In the comments section here, there's a link. Click that. Visit the website that sells 1775 Coffee to show our advertisers that our audience is interactive and really wants to participate here. Anyway, 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I do enjoy those. Those ads a lot. I'm working on my ad reading voice. Oh, Pedro disappeared. All right, well, he'll be back in just a minute. One of the things that... One of the things that I caught earlier, an article here. Let me go find it here. BlackRock now holds $75 billion in Bitcoin. $75 billion. So BlackRock has surpassed MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor. They're currently at, I think, 70 billion or the high 60s. That's an awful lot of. That's an awful lot of Bitcoin. And for all still there's people telling us, Pedro, I just took a quick sojourn off into the news world here. Did you know that BlackRock now holds $75 billion in spot Bitcoin? That's not Bitcoin. That's not their ETFs.
Yes, hard Bitcoin. Yeah, it's real. Like it's real.
That sure is real. That's real, all right.
So, let's finish this off here real quick.
Sure.
And then we can go into some of the blockchains I've been checking out to see potential plays that we could take advantage of. So, we heard about what's happening with Crow and all these other things, right? Excuse me.
Ooh,
my brain is on Crow. I meant crude oil. We heard about what's happening with crude oil and the sell-off here. And what's important to pay attention is this sell-off showed a real fundamental side of things of like, hey, people want to buy crude oil. And we're watching this right now as we're coming up. We're starting to see an increase of the cost of crude oil here. Now we came down to the lows of that 55 area here. And we're playing between that 65 and 55 area here. I'm wondering, are we going to see an increase of crude oil, a real need for it, market mechanisms that are actually going to push it to these higher levels of 78? So I'm kind of waiting and seeing. I do expect us to see it come down here, but ultimately, I would think we're going to see some movements here of it coming back up and testing the 78 to 74 area. And if it blows through this, then I would expect us to come down to this or come up to a new high, which is going to be that 88 to 89 level here. If it does, we could see some kerfluffle within the man with the orange with the hair of Trump. So expect some. We're going to see some. So we got to keep an eye on this, but I expect it to at least see it come back up to that 78, 74, and it's going to be interesting to see how Trump handles this. Check out gold. Gold here, we can see here playing around, coming back down, pulling back to the areas that we talked about. Like I said, coming down to that 31 to 31.87 to the 31.33 area at this level where we're seeing the 100 period moving average. I expect us to come and tap that and see from there and maybe a bounce up. But again, this all depends on if things die down with Israel. If things do die down in the world, people should start deleveraging here. And we could see it probably most likely come down to the 200 period moving average. If we don't, again, we have the seesaw effect, then we should expect to see, again, more people jumping into into gold. And so, but as of right now, things are dying down a little bit. So over the next week, I would expect to see us come back down and tap these lower levels here as things start to de-escalate, hopefully.
Pedro, I get a question about gold. I read this article about, Jesus, what candle is that? Is that gold?
No, that's copper. We're about to go to copper here.
Anyway, with gold, I read an article, a headline saying that the gold industry is now reprocessing more gold than they're mining. That they are pulling more gold out of used electronics, grandma's turned in jewelry, industrial applications that use huge amounts of gold and then retire those machines and stuff like that. I don't know anything about that industry or that sector or even how to follow it. Do you know anything about the reprocessing side of gold? Because that will keep the price of gold down if they become way more efficient at it.
I agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. That would actually help support the price of gold. The only issue is gold is really not, I mean, yes, it's used for that aspect. Like if we look at the price of silver, right? Price of silver is being based artificially low so that we can use it for in electronics. But how far is that going to go? Meaning like people run to gold. Why? Not because of it's better at, unless there's a huge amount of surplus that comes into the market easily. Let's say, i.e., Elon Musk says, you know what? There's that asteroid over there. We're going to go mine it because it's
right.
really 15, it's half the size of America and it's basically gold. So we're going to bring that out here. We're going to mine that and then we're going to come back. That changes everything. But apart from that, people run to gold. Why? Because it's a hedge.
Right.
And so this is where it's like, yeah, you can produce more for less amount of money, but the problem is it's not used as a source to be able to. Yes, it is used a lot in technology, but in trading, if I'm a country and I'm like, all right, things are really getting bad, our dollar's going bad, we need to be able to trade with the rest of the world. We need to buy more gold, right? Or buy more crypto that holds its value. So this is where I sit there and I'm like, we got to wait and see. But like you said, it could. I'm not saying it couldn't with those aspects, but it very much could. Now, let's talk about...
Hold on 1 second to address Derek's question real quick. Derek, real quickly, because Pedro's got a lot to talk about here, and the train's arriving. It doesn't help when BlackRock or somebody buys tons of Bitcoin and holds it like super hodl mode, doesn't trade it. It just pulls it off the market as if it was sent to a dead address. That doesn't help. People talk, well, it's going to force the price up because of scarcity. The price moves to where people want to buy it and sell it. That's why the price, because they own 76 billion, the price everyone thinks it should be at 300,000 by now. It's not, because they're not trading enough. Like, look at NASDAQ. Almost every share of NASDAQ is traded every day. And so that's a very liquid market. And the more liquidity, the more it's traded, the better. Just holding it, that's a false. My personal opinion that it's a false argument that if everyone just buys and holds, then the scarcity will drive the price up. No, because then if everyone just holds, then the smaller market makers can sell a small amount and dump the market, and then the whole thing is off. Anyway, we'll move on from that. Because Pedro, you have got to tell me about that God candle in the copper market.
Yeah. So we talked about us seeing kind of a pullback into that weekly 8 a couple weeks ago, and seeing it because we talked about it. I said we had two situations that could happen, right? We could see the market sell off and come back down to these lower levels. But I said to him, but it all depends on what's going to happen with China, as well as the trade war, as well as America's need for it as well, as we start to really build up our manufacturing industry again. And so I said, this is kind of precarious. And I said, I expect us to see us come back down to that 8-period moving average, hit this liquidity area, which was right here, just like we have it to a T, dog. It came down, we hit the liquidity, came through, and then we shot up. Now, I thought we were going to potentially come back down to that 4.7, potentially the 4.5, but I gave us a few scenarios here, what to play. But that God candle on literally HG. Now, again, I don't know from a fundamental level what actually happened here. I don't. But I know that from a standpoint of our trading that it did very well. Because I was not a part of that. I'm actually mad at myself that I didn't take advantage of it. I saw copper this morning, and what was sad about it is as I was looking at it, I'm like, dude, that thing just exploded. I mean, like, bam, like it just went crazy. So it was recent that this actually came. I just didn't see it happening. I just, I knew that the market was showing a little bit of weakness as we started seeing a sell-off today.
Apparently the copper market suffered from the Donald Trump effect today. Donald Trump declared upcoming tariffs on semiconductors. He also announced a 50% tariff on copper imports. Boom! There's your God candle.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, you started seeing it kind of pull up, but I think this was a left hand, not talking to the right hand, and all of a sudden get caught off, and those algorithms said buy.
I think you should short copper because the price will come back down, and then they'll announce an easing of it, and then bam, it'll flatten out.
Maybe. I don't know. Depends on what that man wants to do. You don't know. All right. But either way, we see what's going on. So it was a nice little play you could have played here off of that supply area here. Boom, we came, tapped it, shot up. I think, like I said, we talked about it coming back down and tapping that 100-day period moving average, which is sitting around that 4.7 area, down to that 200 period, which should be that 453 area, and playing it back up if you're looking to take a swing trade on this. Let's check out here real quick. Where is it at now? Is it gonna pull up? Yeah, perfect. The yuan, we're starting to see it sell off here, right? Which hence means that the market is going up, right? And for their dollar. And so we're coming down. If you're looking to trade this, you can trade this down at that 75 area, coming down to our liquidity area here, where there's going to be buyers that will most likely come in and push it up. Their traders will most likely know to buy and to push this thing up. And so I would expect to see a sell off on the yuan here if they do decide to do that, and we'll move forward from there. Let's check out now NVIDIA. NVIDIA, we can see is just trucking along here, pushing up. The reason why we look at NVIDIA is because NVIDIA is one of the top Magnificent 7 stocks, and it pretty much controls the NASDAQ, which controls what? Bitcoin. Crypto. And so now we're watching it starting to push up here. I'm expecting this thing to kind of come back down. I don't see it not coming down, just simply because we're not seeing a lot of volume step in as this market is going up. We talked about this last week. This thing is resilient, but there's just not a lot of conviction behind it to continue it up. So that's why I'm more apt to say that I want to short this versus go long here. Based on what you want to do, you can, but I'm just not for it. I like the lower areas here. Let's go and change this up here real quick. This was the gap, and we're going to change this up.
Yeah, we were talking about, so NVIDIA is at its highs again. Is that correct?
Yep.
Am I looking at that correctly?
Yes, sir.
You have to say that can't continue. And it does. I realize you're looking now at a weekly chart, so it did show a significant pullback there. But the market didn't change during the past 2 months. What is that? When they were at their lows down? That was when the Trump tariffs were first announced and everything kind of tanked. And that was a NASDAQ pullback and sell off. But it's every time I say, ooh, I'm going to look at that and buy a couple of puts. And I don't, and I'm glad I don't.
You want to wait. Yeah, we want to wait until the market actually shows weakness. You never get into a market. That's what I always say. I want to wait for the break of the 8-period moving average and then a pullback where I see a lack of buyer volume coming in. And so that shows weakness, i.e. I'm going to show this here. You can see we went up. You saw we broke the 8. We came back and tested right here. This is a weekly chart.
Yep.
So you can sit there. Actually, let me go ahead and just show it here. As we're pushing up here, you can see, actually it's better. You can see as we're pushing up here, we break below the 8, right? Boom. You can sit there. Actually, it came up and tested this area right here. So we blew through this, but we saw it continue up because it put in a lower high. So we would have originally been stopped out, but then got back in at this test right here. So this right here is when we would have gone short at this level, or pull back into right here, and to see the drop. So it dropped a little, would have made a little bit of money, but really we would have probably been stopped out, lost some cash. Again, we see the drop in right here, drop below the 8, the retest, and then we see it continue up.
Would have made up for those losing trades right there.
Absolutely. But more importantly, you can see that as we're pushing up right here, you can see here that we did not see an increase in buyer volume. So to us, I would have sat there and said, expect to see this thing go down here from a technical level, because the push back up didn't, there was no conviction in that push up with buyers. And so I would expect to see it come down to the next liquidity point, which is right here, which is the previous high, which would have been this area right here, which we almost tried to, and then pushed back up. But either way, you can see here that it plays similar. And this is kind of like what we're looking to see here, right? We're pushing up, lacking volume, but we want to wait until the market sells off, comes back up, tests that 8, and then goes down with a lack in conviction within buyers. So we can see the buyers are dropping off. You would see a few red candles pick up with higher volume, and then as it pulls back up into that 8, you would expect a lower amount of volume to step in on the retest of that 8. And so it's really important. It's a good play to play, and you can typically make pretty good cash on that. Excuse me. It's typically what I do. So you guys can sit there and see what I do. Next, let's check out Google here. Google is looking very similar to NVIDIA, but it's actually setting up for a nicer play here. I think we could see a major sell-off. The biggest key is this, is if you look at that weekly, if you look at the weekly, you can see here that we have actually had a decent amount of volume coming in as we're pushing up in comparative to, let's say, NVIDIA. And so if you're going to be trading Google here, I would really want to play really the buying of Google, not really the shorting of this, because it shows more strength than the average individual, more than what we're seeing with NVIDIA. And so that's why I'm looking more to buy Google down at the lower levels. We also know that they're one of the top AI developers and really pushing for ASI. And it's going to be really interesting to see what they push, because I think they have more money than what we're watching with Meta. Now, I like Meta. We're about to go over Meta here. But this is one of those things that I'm definitely looking to be buying more of Google here down at these lower levels. If we see a massive sell-off, man, I want to buying in at that 100 area here. So
what would cause a massive sell-off of Google, though? Like more bad news from the EU again? Like, we're going to fine you $40 billion because you sneezed on a Thursday?
Yeah, but I think also more just that more negative information on AI. That's really what would cause it. Like, it would be one of those things saying, hey, yeah, the AI initiative, it isn't within 2 years. It's most likely going to be within 10 years. And you was to show proof. And I think that's really where we're at. They need money to funnel in so they can keep putting money into ASI and AGI getting there. I don't think we're there. And I think any more real documentation saying, look, this is overhyped. This is what I expect to see a sell-off here. And then from there, I would want to buy in at those lower levels. Here we go. And listen, I'm 100% for AI. Like it progressing, but it just needs to be real. We can't just sit there and just overhype it. I mean, when I sit there and talk to Gemini, it's great, but then it still misses. And same thing with Grok, right? It still misses important information, or it can still be swayed by initiatives within our government or in our society that's trying to shape the way people think. So until that stops, I'm not 100% that it's AI. It's just it can generate a token that's really similar. When I get to sit there and correct its value on the yuan, or correct its value on why the S&P 500 did certain things, then I get to sit there and be like, yeah, still needs work, right? So real interesting. But Apple, we've talked about, is showing weakness. We're expecting it to come back down here and test this liquidity area of that 200 area here. Excuse me, not 200 area. I don't know what I said. 189 area here. As we come back down, we should see some liquidity on this weekly level. Also, let's check out Meta. Actually, Tesla. That's what it was. So Tesla hit this area here, which is they've gotten in trouble with what Elon is trying to do from a geopolitical standpoint, right? And so they've been dancing around this area, this gap area here. But you can see here, I think if just interest itself is, people are losing interest here because of the shenanigans going with Elon. Whether you're for him or against him, I really don't care. I just want to capitalize on what the actual stock is going to do. And I think ultimately the company is so forward thinking, and it does. I think ultimately Elon will focus back in on his first love and really push this again. We already saw the latest news about what happened with Neuromesh, and they've got a crew of like 15 guys. A lot of them are ex-military dudes. A lot of them are just knuckleheads, and I love it. I love the fact that they have a bunch of knucklehead ABI, TBI dudes that are sitting there playing with this stuff, and they're having a blast. So I shout out to Neuralink for that. But at the same time, I think the real advancements here is the Neuralink, the robotics that will sooner or later be brought into Tesla as a corporate entity, and really see just an explosion of those businesses, and again coming into the Tesla stock. So for myself, anytime I can see Tesla sell off where I can buy, I'm buying.
Buy the dip.
Buy the dip. And so for me, I'm looking at that 249 area. Hopefully might come down that 150, but that next level, if we do see another sell-off, is going to be roughly around this level here, which is going to be that 220-ish area. So we got the 250, 220 area here before we see maybe the next leg up. If we're lucky, we could see it come back down to that 158 area. You can buy it more. Again, if that's too rich for your blood, you can go on to Robinhood. It is not your stock, not your keys, but at least you can take part in the capitalization or the capital increase here of this market, or I wouldn't say market, but with why am I forgetting what it's called for with Tesla's increase here. But again, I'm not. If we start to see another crazy side of Elon again, I think we could see this thing. And I'm like, let's go money, no whammies, no whammies, boom. All right.
So in essence, you want Elon to be somewhat of a dork for the next month or so, and then it'll cause the stock to come into your liquidity zone, and then you buy, and then he says, I got to go back to work, and then he runs the stock up.
That's exactly.
All right, Elon, you've got a mission.
I want him to.
Elon, if you just happen to be watching our show, I'd really, thank
Which he
you.
is. He really is.
But you need to also take Pedro's direction and then go F off for a month, cause your company to start doing poorly, have the stock sell off, come into Pedro's zones. God forbid, don't do anything good now and just cause it to run right up, because then Pedro's going to miss out.
Don't let me miss out, please.
He wants it. He wants it. It'll be interesting. I don't participate in any of the stonk chat rooms or Wall Street bets or anything like that to see, what their vision of the Tesla stock is. I don't mean the Moon Boys. I'm sure Tesla has plenty of Moon Boys, but the serious people in those public forums. I don't mean. Are they saying, yeah, he's just going to go to the moon? Is it, it's up only, or are they, similar things? Well, depends what Elon says. Needs to come back down for a little bit.
You kind of crack me up, because when I think about Elon and him playing around, moves markets. Like, it's just crazy to think. It's like 20 years ago, right? That's just unheard of.
I can pick up my
The
phone
president.
and barely move my checking account. He can pick up his phone and billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars change hands. Like in the markets, in NASDAQ. And just boop. I think I'm going to take a week off and just chill. Boop, market moves. I think I'm going to buy Bitcoin. Boop. It is amazing. It's so amazing. And it's just like, if you just have, the person that gets his tweets fastest, sits closest to the data center where that processes his tweets and watches them and gets that half-second advantage or less than that, you can make a ton of money. Anyway, it's fun to
there are
speculate on
those are. Well, it's one of those things that it is. I think it's honestly. I think it's beautiful. I absolutely think it's beautiful. And the primary reason why is only presidents could do that back in the day. Only like people of huge influence, like people who, we're talking like institutional, generational wealth.
We are better.
Wow, it does that every single time. I do not understand why it does that. There it goes. But in that same sense, as I'm watching this, I think what's interesting is that you do remember the movie, or not the movie, the book, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yeah.
Do you remember the part where it just seems like craziness that you would have these celebrity rich people in the book that could just control everything, and it's like I feel like we're just going more and more to that absurdity, craziness that is the, I love that's an awesome thing, but just the absurdity of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy future, and I find it funny and awesome, but at the same time I'm like, this shouldn't be, right? Like 20, 30, 40 years ago, this wasn't a thing. It was only serious people who wore suits, not get-ups and like crazy weirdness. So anyhow,
sorry, I got the train in the background again here, so I was on mute. But I enjoyed that movie too, watching their brains blow up. The aliens.
Yes, I got it. And the thing I love about it is the most important thing was love, which is true, right? You need is love. Oh, all right. So we're watching Meta's kind of sell off here again. Whenever we see a sell off in the beginning of the month, this is at its all-time high. But also more important, I think what they're doing ultimately with the Meta glasses and a lot of the stuff that they're doing is going to be a way for them to generate a lot of money. So again, I'm looking for any major sell off within within any type of like tech stock. I want to pick up. One of the guys here that I really like is Meta, and again, I'm looking for that 420. Again, you can buy your shares on the Robinhood account by going through, setting up. You can buy micro shares, and so when they do dividends, you can see here that you can take part in those dividends by your micro shares. Right now, granted, you only buy one, you make 50 cents, but as you start to accumulate more of something and they get kickoff dividends, all you do is just turn it right back into and have it buy more shares with that, hence making more money based off of dividends. So this is the beautiful part about America. Most important thing here is if we see inflation go crazy, we want to buy assets being crypto and other things,
real estate.
So real estate, Bitcoin. Now, the other part I think was really interesting here is let's check out some of my guys that I really like here, right? One being Shiba Inu. Shiba Inu is bouncing off that area that we talked about, right? Down at these lower levels. We're pushing back up to that 4.0 area, right? As we're seeing it come down, we came down to our area here. We're seeing it push up. I thought we were going to see it potentially come down to the 1,000 or 50800 area. I said if it comes down below here, expect to kind of bounce up, but we're just consolidating here. And so I think it's looking like it might be pushing back up here and almost maybe getting ready for a, dare I say, altcoin rally here. So this would be a good little area to pick up a little bit of Shiba Inu and potentially capture it up at least to that 0416 area here, which is sitting around here, or to that 4015 area. So these are some of the little
they're
areas.
Still
that
at a
I'm
$7 billion market cap with this little news. I mean, we haven't heard doodly squat about Shiba. And if you look through YouTube crypto, very few thumbnails are Shiba. I mean, it used to be, you know, everybody was face Shiba.
Yeah.
And their market cap was a lot higher. The pricing was a lot higher, obviously. But still, Pedro, still $136 million have traded in the past 24 hours of SHIB when it's doing nothing.
Yeah.
Any bit of good news, dear SHIB world, come out with something. Any news at all. Just put out a press release saying, we don't even have any bad news, so that's good news. The price will go up by like 500%.
This is true. The other thing, now we're going to go over some of this stuff here real quick because it's kind of look like the same. But the thing I want to point out is we've been talking about ETH picking up. And we've seen Bitcoin kind of just staying stagnant here. But look at as we're watching this, obviously the good news about looking at how much the treasury holds of ETH, right? And that was definitely good news of seeing it pick up. But also to show that the US government is purchasing and acquiring more of ETH, which shows stability for ETH. And so I said back here when we saw the strategic reserve for crypto established, I said this is not going to go away. I expect it to go up. So any major sell-off here, you want to be buying. In the same sense, expect this thing to come back up and test these levels. I was hoping, fingers crossed, that we could see it come back down to that 1500. I said I expect it to come down there, but if it doesn't, it was going to hold at that 100 period moving average there. And so that's what we saw. Now we're seeing it now starting to continue up. The cool thing behind it is on our seller days, you can see less volume. On the brighter days, you can see an increase in volume now of buyers. And so that's a good sign up, and most likely it's going to start pushing up.
You know what it gives me a bad feeling though about ETH there is that bull flag that formed there when you had I guess you had the weekly chart or daily, whatever that chart, Yep. You like it's looking good. You're like, you immediately look at it, look at bull flag. But in my limited experience with this, Pedro, the longer those things go, the less chance that it's actually going to pop. It just seems like this is not a scientific observation. This is just like that one took too long to go and suddenly it turns down. Boop. There's a lot of people waiting for it, and they're like, they get to a point, it's not going to go, I'm just going to sell my position out. And it closed. I've seen that happen with Bitcoin a number of times. And I've fallen for it because I've been long. I'm like, that's a bull flag. I'm going to be long on that. I'm going to make a ton of money. And it's like, man, it's 3 days trading in this range here. This flag, how big can this flag? Bam! And you're like, stopped out. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting getting that feeling in ETH.
I can feel that. Can you go over maybe some of the your trades here real quick? I gotta step away. Somebody just signaled something to me, and I'll be back in about 5-10 minutes. Forgive me for the interruption, guys.
That's all right.
Take care of this.
It's all right. It's a long show. Things happen. Pedro's got a lot going on here. Let's revert. As many of you know, I've been now in my third week of trading in real money. Not demo account. I'm still trading in demo account, and I'm doing two types of trades right now: Bitcoin longs and shorts in crappy meme coins or crappy coins that have a futures market on them. A lot of websites and a lot of crypto exchanges are quick to put new listings on, so they generate their volume. Like Mexi puts new tokens up as soon as they get a bunch of people asking about it. It's like boom, it's up. And it's got a futures market. And then the coin pumps, and it's great. Everything's great, unbelievable. That's great. But we know all these new coins that the flash in the pan, they all pump like crazy, and then they dump. If not dump, then they slowly peter out. And those slowly peter out ones are a fabulous place to make money. You just go short on them. You know, you put $100 into it. You know, and as your entire risk. and give yourself a big range for your stop, because it'll wiggle a lot. But that price will just slowly decay out of those new tokens out of it. And then occasionally the big whale will say, oh man, this isn't going my way, and they'll dump his whole bag. And all of a sudden you'll have a 400% gain. I've turned $5 into $100 a couple of times in the past week doing that. It's been wonderful. In fact, I'm watching one now called HUSDT. I'd bring it up, but I don't think I have that. I don't think I checked my browser background here. Let's see if I can get it. Let's see. Okay, it's working. But anyway, my goal was to go from $500 to $5,000 in the account, and I was doing pretty well. I got it up to $1,600, and it turns out I needed to pay it needed some of the cash from the account, so I brought it down a little bit. Now I'm back at $800, so I got a little ways to go. Let's see, where are we here? This is Bitcoin. Let's put the Bitcoin price here. Bitcoin has been trading, the term I used earlier at Idiot Box. Let me see if I've got an ad first before we go here. Once again, everyone, thank you on Rumble for watching. It's Technical Tuesday here. Pedro has stepped out for a minute during his review of stuff for a few things. We've only got a few minutes left in the show here anyway. But just going over where I am with my trading career here, as they say. And so I've been trading Bitcoin, but I haven't been trading it that much in the past few days, because as you can see here, that's the 15-minute chart. Let's get a 1-hour chart here. Bitcoin hasn't been doing much the past 2 weeks. It's been trading, as I say, in this... why isn't it drawing the line? Draw a line here, fellas. You can see it's just been trading in this range. Now, if you're a good scalper, you can make money in this. If you're skilled and if you stare at it and you're fast, you can make a lot of money on this. I am not that person. I'm not that person. The trades I'm currently looking for are liquidity sweeps. When you see a big sell-off real quick and they just knock out all of the people that are long, and they get stopped out and the market just drops. A good example is this one right here, where it dropped down to 107.4 the other day, and then did. I shouldn't say the other day. I should say that was last night, and then does what's called a money printer model. It wasn't the right time of the day for an official money printer model, but it did. What it did is it swept off here the liquidity, retraced a little bit, and then came back for what's called the 786 retracement. If you ran your Fibonacci's here, I don't. This chart isn't my normal one. I don't know why it's doing this. But you can see it this return here. I bet you it would fall nicely into the 786 retracement. It hit it bang on. Just how do I delete this thing now? And then it proceeded to go up on the money printing run. This pattern here, the liquidity sweep here, if you can see it, the reversal, and then coming down back to the 786 level on the Fibonacci's, is a model that I'm allowing myself to trade in with real money. And I'm doing okay with it. It works 70% of the time, and it happens every day, a couple of times a day. Sometimes I'm not good enough to recognize when it's happening, or I'm multitasking and I don't see it happening and I miss the entry. And if you miss the entry, there's always more trades. Don't FOMO into something. And so this one, as they say, paid well. That model there, and I learned that from Master Friend. Master Friend, you can find him on Twitter with that name, Master, not Friend, but Friend. And then the other model I trade is the 221 model, and that is when the 200 period moving average price comes back up to cross the 200 period moving average. It closes above the 200 period moving average. Usually I'm trading it on the 1 minute or 5 minute. And then the 21 period, or 20 period, depending how you have your chart set up, comes up and touches price action. And when that happens, almost all the time, it's a boom to the upside. And there's some nuances to it, whether the market is in a premium, as they say, or whether it's not in a premium, and all these types of things. So you can see that essentially that happened here. Anyway, so those are the two things I'm trading. They work pretty well, and I'm still using my demo account. I'm trying other things, getting okay results on the new things that I'm trading. But one of the things here, let's bring up when I talk about the this one here. This is HUSDT. I don't know what they do, but if we look at their hourly chart, this is the whole chart. Ignore the huge red candle on the first day. That was this factor of their listings. But they went up a lot. The market pumped them like crazy. Brand new coin, brand new listing. It got to a point where, yeah, the money's got to come out of this new token, like they all do, because they had a futures account. You could sell it, and so you can do a lot of fairly risk-free futures trades by turning $5 into $80 because the market, this coin was listed too early before it was healthy. So as you can see, it looks like a fairly manipulated market going up. That means it's going to come down, and the whales are going to sell. That's what they're doing. Mr. Pedro, are you back there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. But anyway, for those of you that are, I don't know why you haven't come back on screen yet. There you go. It showed up.
There we are. Sorry, I had to take care of that real quick.
That's all right.
Things are falling apart.
Just finishing off here before we get to the end of the show here, your last few things. But this is typical. I was just explaining to the audience that one of the things I'm allowing myself to trade real money on are these new tokens that get listed in the futures markets, and you can short them after they've had their run up, and they just slowly.
Who is it with though?
They just bleed themselves dry.
Who is it with?
I don't know. This is called HUSDT. I don't know what the project is.
Who are you trading with?
Oh, that's just a Mexi account that I have.
Mexi account. And I've been trying to get this man to send me his link so he can get money off of me trading, and he still hasn't.
All right, that's a conversation. We need to pick one, and
I got you.
We need to have that discussion. Yeah.
Yes. I see. Okay. Yes. And I'm going to give that to our viewers so that you guys could then have fun there and go, we made money. Thank you, sir. You know? I'm so sorry. I just totally culturally, what is it? Culturally appropriated that.
There's no, that whole concept, Pedro, is bullshit. Just so you know, every culture has borrowed or stolen stuff from other cultures. To say something is only someone else's and you can't ever use it is that's just those young woke people being stupid. Anyway, I don't have much time left, Pedro.
Go ahead. Yes.
I got some things to do here this afternoon in the.
Let's finish off here real quick. All right. So BNB, you guys can see right here, similar situation, right? I'm expecting it to kind of come up. But before we come up, I think BNB will probably come back down first and test that 100 to 50 period moving average here, or 100 to 200 period moving average at these lower levels before we see it go back up. So we'll see what goes on here. Let's check at XRP. XRP, which I thought was really interesting, really, and the whole entire tornado cash is that they're not getting let go.
That was the other story I had to talk about, but I'll bring it up tomorrow.
No, just bring it up real quick because I'm about to go in tornado crash and some stuff. So,
No, the U.S. government gave up trying to keep people from using it. They gave up their prosecution of it. They told the Dutch, we're not involved with that prosecution anymore. There's an article about it that I had queued up, but I don't know. But that was good news. It's good news that because they knew that eventually the Supreme Court would rule on that and say that's just free speech, man. Free speech. Do with your money. Writing contracts like that is free speech. Computer code. The Supreme Court has already ruled that computer code is free speech. It's essentially your speech that you're just using a computer to type. And how other people use it, you can try and ban people from using it, but that genie is out of the bottle. And once the U.S. gets up to once the word gets out that everyone can use it officially instead of unofficially, the volume of Tornado Cash will go up, and that's when it gets more secure, and that's when it gets more anonymous. Because right now, sometimes they can pick out where the money, even when it goes through Tornado Cash, if people do something stupid, like one guy stole $1 million, he ran it into Tornado Cash and sent $250,000 to 4 wallets within a minute of sending it in. And so it's like, that's pretty easy to figure out, But if you send $1 million, so you can change the time when it goes. You can change. Not that I know how this all works, but you can change when it comes out. To make chain analysis, not be able to figure it out. You can do that.
But also, what's cool about it is this: is that if you're in a situation, you're trying to get out of a situation within the world. Let's say you're stuck, and you're Christian in Iran, right? And you're trying to get out, and you need some form of anonymity. Right. It's a great device or a great product to be able to put money in and being able to wait to get out of a circumstance or a situation.
So many people are focused from the American point of view that was beaten into our head by Elizabeth Warren that everything's a scam. It's a scam or stolen terrorist money or something like that. And real people don't have anything to hide. Whenever you hear someone use that argument, that's, when they're out to steal all your shit from you. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that for a lot of people don't realize that there are a lot of Christians that are under major persecution around the world, and they need to get out of circumstances and situations, and the best way to do it is honestly bribery. And and if you use fiat cash or in some sense, that can be tracked to you, or you can see what's actually happening. But you can give somebody saying, hey, here's X amount, it's through
and you tornado cash it to them. So it's
use XLM, not XLM, XM Monero, thank you. Use XMR, and then hence allow that to actually go. And so there's a lot of things that it is used for to help you out, so it keeps anonymity for yourself. And I think it's important to understand the full scope of what it does. All right, so TRX we've talked about, it's just a beast, keeps going. So every time we see a sell-off, we're looking to buy. I was almost positive we're going to see it come back down, but look, man, you're seeing it come up. And I read a couple articles saying just the people who are accruing this is really just institutional people. Just institution keeps buying up TRX, and it's really interesting that they're, that Justin's son is really doing a great job of reaching out to those people. So, really good job.
My dad, it's smoking Shiba. It's at $27 billion market cap here.
Yeah, and it's been just consistently just pushing them. But if you look at, all the way down at these lower levels here, and we saw it come all the way down to 4 cents. And then, we said don't buy it at that 45 cent area. We want to wait for a pullback here at that 20 cent. But sure enough, it's just still just steadily climbing. So really interesting to see what's going on there. One of the other things I want to point out here. So we kind of went over everything. Doge, kind of similar to what we're seeing with Shiba. But I wanted to point out something because I thought was really interesting is Crow. So Crow, they found out a ton of they thought it was a dead wallet, and Crow shot up because they actually made it live, and they basically said, yeah, this amount of money is good. We're gonna accept this. And instead of doing the opposite, which I thought was gonna happen. Now, granted, there was
wait. Explain that one again to me there.
Yeah, so there was a wallet that was found that was considered a dead wallet. for Crow. And
it had tons of Crow in it?
Tons of Crow. And so typically when you have scarcity on something, and then more of that scarcity is found,
unscarce.
That makes it at least unscarce, would make the price do what? Drop.
Right.
It did not. Plus, some good news came out of some hedge funds and other people wanting to buy Crow, and some slight news of it potentially kind of being used for other aspects. We've seen now Crow shoot up. It was funny because last night I was going to buy another thing, and then somebody called me, and I was like, I never got
and that's
to.
when the God candle happened.
And it was like, ooh, like it was like one of those moments. Like I woke up this morning because I was going to do it this morning, and I looked at it, I was like, and my gut was telling me like, get in on it, get on it. So, and the biggest key was this right here. This was the clincher here, is look at all the last week or two, or actually last week.
That price went up 20% a day.
I know. I was going to buy. I don't even understand. I was mad at myself. I won't let this happen. I will not let that happen again. I mean, it just frustrates me. I've been buying at this level, but I was waiting for some money to come in so I could buy last night.
Right.
I didn't, and I was going to. So stay focused, my friend. But look, you can see here, the biggest thing is over the weekend, right? We saw a low amount of volume, but on, I think it was Sunday, you can see here we had a good amount of buyer volume. I was like, that's interesting. Somebody's buying there. So that's why yesterday I said tomorrow's a good time. Yesterday's a good time to buy, because on Sunday, when we shouldn't see an inflow like that, right? And you see how this is a doji. So that means they were edging in their position at a good price so that they could get in at a, so this, I knew something was up. Something was afoot. I knew it. And I just missed out on it. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
There's always another trade.
Yeah, there's always another trade. But this was cool. And so this is a good sign for if you're a Crow holder. You know, this is a good sign. This is a really good sign of lack of scarcity. Yeah, price go up. Something's going on. Something is going on, and pay attention. So I'm waiting for that pullback. Probably hit that 200 period moving average at the 10-cent mark. Pull back down to probably at 9 cent, potentially 8 cent again. But ultimately, I expect to see something happen here. So I don't know if it's gonna be really, really good news, or I don't know. I just don't know. But I know something is there is a position. Yeah, something's afoot, and somebody put in a position in, and they did a good job. It's whoever this is, whatever is happening here. Wouldn't it be dope if they were to become American and decide to like have to go public, and anybody who owns Crow, I've heard this happening, where your coin can potentially become a share, right? And if that happens, this thing, I mean, I think this could push off, because here's the thing. If this thing just gets back to 25 to 30 cent area, okay, just right here, right, which is basically 200x of what it's sitting at, which everybody knows, like, that's nothing. You're talking, everybody gets rewards off of this in Crow, right? And all of a sudden, your bag goes from, let's say you have, $30,000 to $100,000 of it, to now $300,000-$400,000. And most important, and this is the part that's, you receive you receive rewards from it by staking it. And when you sit there, now all of a sudden you go from, let's say, making $200 a month or $150 a month of rewards to now you're making $2,000-$3,000 a month in rewards.
Yeah, that's a big change.
That's a life-changing change. And all of a sudden now you're able to take that money and reinvest it, or let's say you take that money and you just turn it into an actual share, and then it pays you out what in dividends.
As long as they're a dividend payer, which many tech companies fail this.
Well, what I would think is because they're not really, I mean, yes, they are a tech company, but really they're a hybrid of crypto and a traditional financial exchange like the CME, much like Goldman Sachs. They're a hybrid within crypto where they have a DeFi system that is truly DeFi, as well as a CeFi system that has merged with it. And we're watching this merge happening. And I'm not talking about what I'm talking about with Robinhood and them tokenizing. I'm talking a real DeFi system that is being tokenized within their system here. And if there's going to be a person that's going to be able to pull it off, it's either going to be Coinbase or Crypto.com. And the last one we can check out, because I want to shout out to our boy, because he hit the nail on it, is the Uniswap. Uniswap is another one. If they were to set up a CeFi system that could correlate with TradFi, this would be the banging of all banging, dude. This would be just like amazing, like you had me at hello, like let's go, like Jerry Maguire, 100%, right? And you have my heart and you have the mind to be able to make it happen. This would be Uniswap. And so I like Uniswap. I think Uniswap is still undervalued comparative to where they're, compared to what they do offer. And I think if they were now to branch, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but open up a branch side of a CeFi system, but keep their DeFi heart, this is how they would do it. This is how you bring TradFi and DeFi together in a good symbiotic relationship. So when it comes down to it, I like Uniswap. It's one of those ones I was going to talk about today. So when Mikey said, "What are your thoughts on Uniswap?" I said, bro, good money, bro, good money. Let's go. Anyways,
all right, they're at $4 billion. No slacker here. With close to $400 million traded in the past 24 hours and up 7% in the past day. They're, as you can see from the chart, they're at more of towards their lows. Buying opportunity. Buying opportunity for them. For sure. A DAO kind of controls Uniswap, right?
I don't know the full details of it. I just like
You'll see some merger. They'll merge with another DAO that'll be bought by BlackRock, and then all of a sudden, the price won't be a $4 billion market cap. It'll be a $600 billion market cap,
or 40 billion. I mean, just even 40 billion. I mean, them at 40 billion. I think their high was what was it? I think 60 or 45.
Oh wow! I didn't realize we were that far into the lows. Big discount zone here for them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it came almost down into our original area here, but we just missed it. We picked up some here, and I expected it to come back down and pull back, but it just hasn't been able to pull back. Now, the reason why I think it's going to pull back, as you can see, even though we're going up, what do we see? We see volume going down here. But like, it doesn't mean it needs to come back down here. Like, that's the thing. It could just be position building, right? It might not just come back down. We just might just stay in this level here until it sends, right? And if I am a major institution and I'm sitting there and I hire an intern or somebody who sits there and says, all right, what do you think your big bets? And somebody says, Uniswap, we need to get it, right? I come in and I have $100 billion to spend on something. And I come knocking on that DAO door and I'm like, hey, you're worth $7 billion. I can turn that into your high, which you were at. I want to be a part of this. And I got $100 billion to play and really make this really good and make you guys compliant and at the same time still DeFi, because the new legislation that's going on in America is going, that it's what it's pushing. The fact is that they dropped fire, and this is where I want to talk about, and even though I know we got to go here, But the fact that we saw a drop in Tornado Cash shows really the mindset that this administration, and I think progressive administrations as we move forward, is going to have toward DeFi as well as CeFi. Obviously CeFi more, but DeFi, you can see that's really where they're kind of headed towards. So it makes sense to me that Uniswap would be something that a major institution would be like, that makes sense. Why wouldn't they do it? I don't know. It just makes sense to me.
I think they had some problems with the U.S. government and the SEC, and I believe all of those have settled. Is that correct? I don't know the
full details, but from an actual business standpoint, these guys are a cash cow. The other one I thought about, Trust Wallet. Trust Wallet, another cash cow.
Yeah, Binance owns them though, so that's not going anywhere.
What else? There's a lot of them out there right now that are unicorns that aren't necessarily even being looked at. And so this is where we'll probably do this tomorrow, because I was gonna send this to you. I didn't send it to you, but there's a lot of new volume coming up to a lot of new blockchains that I've been paying attention to, and we'll probably be going over that tomorrow as well. So to all you guys who are watching and paying attention to, come back tomorrow. We're gonna go over some plays that potentially could pay off here in this next bull run as we start in. So fingers crossed.
All right, well, maybe we'll make that the theme of the show, and I'll put a bunch of AI babes on the front of the thumbnail and be blockchain babes. One will be a Solana blockchain, one will be an Algorand blockchain, one will be other ones, and then we'll get 1 million views just because men are horny.
Dude, hey, I got to put it like this. If sex sells, okay, which
then sell it.
Absolutely, right? Then get him to come in, right? Like, I hate to say it, but I hate to use that, but just the idea behind it is just, it makes sense to me. It makes complete sense. Like, I hate to use it, but it does. People see the girls and go, oh, wow. And then they see two dudes and go, ah. By the way, what's happened? What happened to Pixie and everybody else who was supposed to come on? Are they coming back on or no?
They will. Just the schedules never seem to work out as I try to plan them. Coley is going to come on, I think, next week.
Cool.
Talk about she's been so unbelievably busy. They did their big gala event that I missed in Ottawa, and now they're doing a big 5-day event because it's Stampede out in Calgary right now.
What's Stampede?
That's the big summer celebration in Alberta. That it's basically a week-long party. But it's a business-oriented thing, but everyone goes and just gets hammered. And everyone in Alberta says that, oh no, we just get hammered for the week.
But it's a business. Well, that makes about, you know.
And it's celebration. It's like, you know, in a state, the states have their state fairs, you know, in which the agriculture gives the biggest, best cow judging contests and you know, all that stuff. All that stuff goes on, and then everyone goes there and networks for business too, and it's a big event. I have never been. Mrs. Striking has been, and we keep getting invited to go with friends, and it just doesn't work out as far as schedule.
Well, if you ever need a representative to go there and handle a full week long of networking and partying with the DYOR Media Network, I will volunteer my time. And it's a hard life, but I can go in relationship for DYOR Media Network, the DYOR Network. Just to give you a heads up, because I think I could suffer through a 1 week life of just partying. I mean, business.
Business.
Business. Yes.
Well, everyone, that's it for today. As always, thanks for the hard work Mr. Garcia puts into the Technical Tuesday thing. I've learned a lot about the markets, just sitting here and listening, absorbing it, and I don't really have much to say except the funny quips on Tuesdays. But I've noticed that I'm starting to partake in the discussions because I like today's example of processing gold. I saw that article and I'm like, that'll be a question for Technical Tuesday on things like that. But anyway, still have a good week ahead of us here. We've got We will have one. I haven't mentioned this to you, Pedro. I forgot, but we have a scheduling issue on Thursday. We need to go a little earlier if possible.
Okay. Let me know. Like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock?
Yeah, like maybe an hour earlier.
Okay.
Would probably work out just fine. But anyways, pay attention to Bitcoin. Pay attention to your bags. Pay attention to the Chinese yuan and the rupee and all these the world's economic indicators that let you know how your bags are going to turn out, whether the U.S. economy is going to go up and boom and take care of the debt, or if it's going to tank and stagflation is going to just wreck all of the president's plans. Who knows which way it's going to go, but if you keep listening to us, I bet you will find out. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you tomorrow. As always, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking here in the digital media world. The man next to me in the box is Pedro Garcia, the crypto chart analyst. We'll see you tomorrow. Our mics are off.